All right, we're going to visit the legislative session for one specific bill here. I want to welcome into the studio Cathy Toliver. Welcome. How are you?
I'm fine. Thank you for having me.
Glad to have you on here. This is an important conversation to have, not just on a legislative level, but for our city as well. It was, wow, as of today, it was 1 year and a month ago.
1 year and a month. It's just horrific what has happened.
It doesn't get easier, does it?
Never. My daughter called me at work yesterday, and she was just bawling. Just, my grandson, my remaining 9-year-old grandson, is just having a hard time dealing with it because they saw the little brother brains blown out at 3 years old.
It was a year and a month ago that Devin Page was killed by a stray bullet. Devin was sleeping in his own bed, sleeping in his own crib. And 3 years old and did nothing wrong, was a victim of random violence. And we're still nowhere when it comes to finding a suspect. And when I say we, I mean Baton Rouge as a whole.
Right.
And there's been a lot of movement since the killing of Devin. But one of those, or I shouldn't say but, one of those pieces of movement is at our legislative session right now. Let's dive in on House Bill 606.
I am just, it's needful, it's purposeful, because the property owners, my daughter pleaded with the property owners to release her out of the lease the moment we began to see criminal activity.
Yes.
And so in the midst of that, they were telling us, we're not going to do anything. You signed a 2-year lease and you're bound to it. We were going there, repeatedly. My daughter was. And, but before going there, prior to it, we visited the street. We talked to the neighbors. Everybody, it was an older neighborhood, and everybody said it was peaceful. It was great, no problem on that street, on Fairfield. And so we went on. She signed the lease, and, we went on, and she moved in. After that, she started noticing criminal activity next door. I would come over there, and I'm thinking, one day I saw this young man sitting on the porch with a rifle, and I'm thinking, I have 3 grandkids. My daughter has her 3 children, and I gave him a look, like, what are you doing sitting on the porch? So we started documenting all of this, and then shortly after that, the shooting began. And so even there, when we saw the gun, the young man, we went to the management company to say, look, something's not right here. We don't feel comfortable. We don't feel safe.
And the management company did what?
Nothing.
Right.
They just told us that the owner of the property is at the beach. He doesn't care about y'all. And so it continued. And moving forward, because I know for the sake of time, moving forward, this went on, and then shootings started happening. So then we got down to April 12th. And, April the 11th, there was a really bad shooting at the house next door. My daughter had nothing to do with this. She was not on Section 8, nothing like that. And so, but that's how they treated her.
Right.
And so in the process of that, my daughter, I told her to video record it. She did on April the 11th. So April the 12th, that morning, she went to the property management company, had me on speakerphone, and showed them the proof, the evidence of the pictures of the shooting, because she had been pleading. And she kept saying, well, now that you have this, I'll tell the owner. And she says the owner said, well, the only thing he's going to do, he'll tell you to do is just you get your own cameras. But, we'll see what we can do. And 11 p.m. that night, my daughter kept telling him someone's going to be killed in my house. And 11 p.m. that night, the drive-by shooter, that same person, drove by and blew my grandson's brains out. 3 years old, sleeping in his bed. She just gave him a bath. She just put him in the bed. I just FaceTimed him to say, good night, sneakerdoodle. He said, I'll see you in the morning, Grammy.
Yeah.
And there was no morning for him. Who's responsible for that?
So it opens up so many different conversations. Number one, bigger picture, the crime problem is that nothing gets solved until that gets solved. Now, the steps along the way to help solve that is where you have taken over, where you have had a leadership role, and you've done an unbelievable job since then. It's hard to have the conversation, just the sheer weight of it.
Yes.
It's very difficult to have the conversation. And since that time, we've seen, and we had a few months later, the murder of Allie Rice, just a block from here.
Yes.
The Paige Rice Camera Initiative has been out there. You've helped pass Devin's Law at the Metro Council.
Yes, thanks to Cleve Dunn Jr.
Yeah.
He's been on the front line with us.
And now there's HB 606 that's out there. Before we get to HB 606, tell me about Devin's Law. What got done there?
So, we wanted to have cameras. We wanted to have lighting. Because the owner of the property told my daughter, well, you get cameras and it will catch the activity that's going on. So we weren't able to get the cameras to stick or the lighting, but we were able to get it in the books that if you're having problems with your lease, go talk to the management company and hopefully things will be resolved. It was kind of just watered down, but we did get some type of movement.
Okay. It's a step. It's not a catch-all. It's not going to solve anything, but it's not going to solve everything, but it can.
But
be
you know what it is doing for us? It's keeping my grandson's name alive. My grandson didn't die. He was murdered, and I will always make his name known, no matter where this goes in the house. His name is going to be remembered because the people could have done something.
Let's talk about that something. HB 606 would allow someone to get out of their lease if there are multiple violent crimes within, I think, 1/10 of a mile is the wording within the bill. Talk to me a little bit about your experience testifying for this bill.
It was such an experience, Brian. It was mind-blowing because I've never been in that particular seat. I've been in many seats, but I've never been in that seat at the state capitol, speaking on behalf and defending my grandson and my daughter. And to hear them say, put a dollar amount that they were defending the Renters Federation, saving them money. It's going to cost too much money. Here's the good thing about God. About 15, 20 years ago, I worked in management, so I know how property management runs. I didn't know that now, 2023, I was going to use that knowledge from back then because that wasn't a profession that I, wanted to be in, but that was something that I was given. So now I understand the language of it. And sitting there at the state capitol, listening to the feedback from people defending the Renters Federation when a life had been taken. What is the value of Devin Page Jr.? How in the world can you sit there and say it's going to cost too much money for property owners to put cameras and lighting when there was no one that considered the fact of my grandson?
No, cameras and lighting, absolutely. Those are actionable items that a renter could take on. But getting out of a lease, meaning that the renter, I'm going to struggle through this just to get it out.
Let me help you. I know where you're going with that. It's not about breaking a lease. We weren't talking about just breaking a lease. We presented the problem to them. And they did not take it into consideration. We're saying, fix this. My daughter was trying to relocate. They could have moved. When I was in property management, if there was a problem in someone's unit, we would move them, okay? So we brought the problem to them to say, fix the problem.
Yeah.
And so they said, we're not going to fix the problem. And then we said, then remove us out of the lease.
Okay, so this particular property owner, that obviously things have been done completely wrong here, and it has had tragic consequences. But when you're putting into law, you got to take into account all property owners.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so if I'm a property owner and you come to me and say we need better lighting and I install better lighting, that doesn't stop the shooting. If I'm a property owner and you say we need cameras and I install cameras, that doesn't stop the shooting, not necessarily stop the shooting either. At the end of the day, the property owner is not the one who did wrong here. Now, this property owner, your daughter's property owner, obviously completely in the wrong. It's from the way the
yeah.
story's been told numerous times, had multiple opportunities to make things a modicum just a little bit better. Could have made things better at any step along the way. But if there's a property owner who is doing things right, this would still leave them in the lurch of a broken contract.
So here's my answer to that. Every situation is different, okay? And so because every situation is different, you handle it accordingly. So in my case, we presented our problem. It was ignored. And so in other people's cases, let me tell you, I'm on the street right now. I'm on the street twice a month with my PA system with about 50 to 70 people, and we're in the high crime areas. I've always communicate with Chief Murphy Paul. He will let me know where the high crime areas are. Thank God for him giving me the opportunity through you to be here. But with that being said, you know, when you are in a situation like that and you have records of what's going on, you handle every situation accordingly. If it requires releasing someone out of their lease because of whatever that situation was or is, like ours, then you handle it accordingly. If it's a situation where I just need to be in another unit, then move me in another unit.
Right.
Okay, whatever it takes to get it done. But getting out of the lease is the final straw when you say, I'm not going to do anything. And then you're going to take that 2-year lease and you're going to put it in my daughter or on my daughter's credit report where she won't be able to rent anywhere else. And you're telling her this? Every situation is handled accordingly.
Do you have to be anywhere?
No.
Right now? Can I keep
good.
you for one more segment?
Yeah.
All right. Hey, Vinny Politan from Court TV, you're getting bumped the next hour, if not further back. This conversation is just too important, and we can't stop it right here. We've got Cathy Toliver in studio. We've got Devin Page's grandmother in studio. We are talking about HB 606. Should a renter be allowed out of their lease if there are multiple reports of violent crime within, let's just call it a block,
Yes.
within a block of your home? If you are not safe in your home, should you be allowed out of your lease to move? We'll talk and we'll continue after this. Right now it is 6:30. It's time for us to get a look at national news. ABC News coming your way right now. We'll check our local news, traffic, and weather. We're going to continue with Cathy Toliver next on Talk 107.3. I kind of had a feeling this was going to spill over to a second segment. It's just too good. I completely agree with it. It's just, there's got to be discussion.
And it's fine. I'm fine with that because I experienced it at the Capitol. But we, you know, on the second day, before I knew it, I blew a gasket. I don't know. You know, I just.
Well, and that's what we're going to shift the conversation to is your experience over there.
Yeah. I mean, I just couldn't. Anyway. But thank you for this. Thank you for
No,
this.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, Chief Paul comes on the show once a month just to kind of update stats and talk about hot spots. And I like to give him an opportunity to give shout outs to officers who are doing good out there because every story we hear is bad. So,
yeah.
He's been a very valuable resource to get hands-on information.
Also, yeah.
And he reached out after his segment. Yes, been meaning to ever since the first Safe BR press conference.
Were you there?
Yeah, I was there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It was at the Valdry. Was that the one at
on Southern?
Yeah.
Southern campus.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh yeah, no, you made an impression. I was like, oh God, that poor Allie Rice's poor family has to go on after her.
But you know, we have connected. Mm-hmm. You know, my heart goes out to them. Paul calls me. We talk, or his wife, when we are in situations like that or places. Grief is grief. It just comes differently. Mm-hmm. And have you ever experienced it?
Do what? Not in that form. I've never had a family member murdered, so can't say that's happened.
Yeah, that's a whole different wave.
Yeah. Part of the bill creates safety standards for rental properties. We'll talk about that first because that's actually the answer to my question.
Okay.
About what is the renter doing, or what is the renter doing to help along the way, and then we'll get into your experience. Okay. So, by the way, we're always on Facebook Live, so.
That's Facebook Live right there?
Yeah, the one that's coming out from the wall, that camera. So.
Oh, we're live.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. All right. What's that?
I often forget.
Is that? the monitor. Okay. Okay, so that's what they're seeing. Okay. So we can go back. I can go put it on my page.
Yes. In fact, I would encourage you to share.
Yeah. Oh, great. Good. And then how can I get this on my page? I can give you, I don't know how to do it. I'm not savvy with that. Okay, and then take it.
I'll email you. I'll text you.
Okay,
I'll
good.
text you the link.
Oh, good. Thank you. It is the people that I have met along the way of, through this journey. Um, the people who have in the grocery store, I can just go get a carton of eggs. I'm in there about 2 hours because people, they recognize they want to talk or what have, and I'm there and I'm hearing their stories I've never even heard of. People who are calling, you know, um, to find out how can they're in situations or similar situations. This was never about getting people to break their lease because I understand responsibilities and bills and all of that. This is about being accountable, bringing accountability here. Yeah, and that's my frustration. When you see a 3-year-old, he just turned a baby. This is him right here, my baby. Yeah. And you say, I don't care about y'all, and you send the message. So, my thing is now you're feeling the message now. Yeah.
Cathy, you walked through what your daughter did with the management of the property. How much of this? This was all reported to police ahead of time as well, right? Yeah. Yeah, Galen. Everything from our comments.
Yeah.
Stream of comments. Yes, everything was reported to police along the way as well.
Yeah.
So if we got Clay and he's got somebody with him from Don Juan. If that doesn't run, how long is the Vinnie Politan interview? All right, so 30 minus 7.5 would be, call it 24. 20, 23, 24. Well, yeah. Hey, let's try to break from this day in history by 8:12. That would give us come back for 8:15. That would give us 6-7 minutes with Clay. We can double up. All right. If we run long, we'll revert back to what we already had on the rundown and bump Vinny till Monday.
Would that be Clay Young?
Yes.
Oh, you know Clay?
I've known Clay for years.
Oh,
Clay's one of my favorite people on the planet.
He.
Let's get a look at that weekend forecast. Here is WBRZ meteorologist Jason Wheat. Yeah, he does a annual fundraiser called Smoke 'em If You Got 'em. And it's coming up very shortly.
Okay.
So.
Go ahead, Clay.
Yeah. Well, then there's that. Yeah. We don't like the call. So Clay is notorious for doing something on my show every time he's on. He will tease something that's coming up, but he can't talk about what's coming up yet.
Oh.
So every time he's on, he's like, can't talk about it now, but in about 2 weeks we'll be able to talk about it. And like, Clay, you do this to me every time. Like, give me the scoop, man. Give my audience the scoop. He's like, just got the tease for right now. 737 Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, 75 degrees at downtown Baton Rouge. Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. So we were supposed to talk with Vinnie Politan from Court TV about a new show he's got called Accomplice to Murder. Full disclosure, that conversation's recorded. We'll get to it later on. We've got Cathy Toliver in studio right now talking about proposed legislation that would allow someone who is leasing an apartment or a home out of their lease if there are multiple reports of violent crime, within a block of the house. Kathy, thank you for sticking around for a second segment.
Yeah, absolutely.
Kathy, if you're just joining us, is Devin Page's grandmother. And a year and a month ago, Devin Page was murdered in his bed. Stray bullet goes through the wall or the window, or
Through the window.
Through the window.
Yeah.
And strikes Devin in the head. And
yeah. There were actually, Brian, my daughter was grieving, so when she got up, she's with me now, and she got up, she said, "Mom, I need to go back to that house that was shot up." And so we went back to the house, and when we went to the house, she wanted to see the bullet. So it started with number 2, and it went all the way up to 40. And she was counting them because the police had the little stickers. And she said, "Well, Mom, where's number 1? Where's the first bullet?" And we looked, and we turned to the window, and that was the first bullet. The little sticker was number 1. The very first bullet went through my daughter's window, and the rest of them went to the house.
You said 40?
40. We counted them, 40. They sprayed that house.
This is the scenario, the nightmare scenario that no one wants to see happen. But this is what you are looking for, some sort of solution, sort of out. That brings us up to HB 606 by Edmund Jordan. You were in front of the legislature, state legislature, talking about this, testifying for it. Tell me about your experience. It was
an interesting experience, but it was a pushing experience because, I've never been in a position like this. I've never sat at the Capitol for anything. And so in sitting there, the only thing that I could do was just tell my truth and let these people know that, you cannot, and I'll say it again, you cannot put a dollar amount on a person's life. And to hear them say, when the Renters Association was there, and one of the ladies said, although this is unfortunate what happened to Devin Page Jr., but we can't, spend all this money. You're not going to water my grandson down. And I felt they were watering him down. But it was strong enough where 9 out of 5 voted to push it from the House. But to see the faces of the people, there was one gentleman, it took everything in me, Brian, to hold my composure. But there was one gentleman that actually said on the first day, he said, "I don't believe cameras would have saved your grandson. I don't believe cameras would have saved your grandson."
Here's the thing. You can't know until you know. They might not have.
Yeah, but this is what I said to him. It would have caught the killer, because if the killer was a perpetrator repeating it over and over and over, he may have killed someone before he got to my house. And I said to him, but he hadn't been apprehended yet. So guess what? He may be driving down your street and come blow somebody's brains out in your house.
Right.
And that's how I feel about it. We're not going to water my grandson down. We're not going to let that happen.
No, and the hard part there is separating the two, separating this Devin's tragedy from establishing the legislation. What kind of feedback did you get? You talked about the renters, but from the legislators themselves, was there obviously there was enough support shown to move things forward?
Yeah. Well, let me back up to where when the council, Metro Council, with Cleve Dunn and the entire Metro Council. Devin's law was unanimously pushed forward. The bill was passed, and I thank God for that. After that, they actually came off the bench because we were bawling, we were crying, and they came to embrace us. Here at the state, you can, the ones that voted, hey, we were cool with that. We were the 9 that passed it. Thank you all if you're listening to this program. For those who didn't, I hope you're never in the shoes that we're in.
Right. And I mean, this was Fairfield's just off of North Faulkner.
Yeah.
That's Baton Rouge is geographically not that big.
Yeah.
Sadly, you're never that far away.
Right.
But when you broaden things out to statewide, obviously community-wide, there will be a lot more embracing.
Yeah.
Statewide, it's going to get a lot more detached.
Yes.
What's the feedback moving forward with 606 as it moves? It went from committee to the House floor, correct?
Right.
Feedback moving forward. Are you going to go through this again?
Oh, yeah. I'm in it to win it. I'm going to go as far as I can go and make some noise along the way. This is not an empty wagon. And that is why I'm saying I'm on the street, Brian. I'm out there. I'm hands-on with the people. The people are talking. You know, the word is out there. People know what's going on. And so it doesn't matter. I mean, I pray to God that it get passed, you know, because it will help people. I'm hearing people come to me. You know, people are coming to me. But I'm telling you this, that whether it passes or not is not going to stop me and my mission to fight for Devin Page Jr.'s law and to help protect other people's children. Brian, if you have children, you know, hey, you know, I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to stop. I'm trying to talk people off the ledge, you know, because I've been talked off the ledge. I'm doing everything to keep my daughter from coming off the ledge because she wanted to go on a shooting spree because she's outraged. Who would do this? She's furious with the management company, but it's done. You know, look what it cost us.
No, it cost you, Devin. If I could ask another question about the incidents, the incident itself. If I could ask another question about Devin's murder, obviously Devin not the intended target.
Right.
Have y'all ever found who the intended target was?
You know, the streets are talking, and so the thing is, here, people come and Brian, this. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
This it angers me. Don't come to me and tell me you know what's going on, and then you're telling me the information. Well, keep it under because I'm gonna shoot you down. You know, we're talking about my grandson's life. And if you don't want to come to me, you can call Crime Stoppers. If you don't, you know, there are many options out there that you can take. But the streets are talking. Yeah. And they're telling, you know, I just don't even go to that, into that. Because,
I realize that's why I hesitated a moment ago. Whatever, you know, we can't compromise ongoing investigations, obviously. But you said plenty in that.
Yeah,
the streets are talking. Even 13 months later, there is still hope of closure. That's good to know. We are talking with Cathy Toliver, Devin Page's grandmother, about HB 606. So scheduled for floor debate this coming Thursday, so a week from yesterday. Do you make it up there when it hits the floor, or do you have to sit out until the next
I have to sit
committee?
To the next committee.
So when it goes to Senate committee, you'll be back at it.
Right there.
Okay.
You know, be right there. And this time I'm asking the community to come out and support Devin's Law.
So Devin's Law, are we calling this one Devin's Law as well, just like we did at the local level?
And you know what, Brian, for me, you know, people don't get involved until something happens to them. But I've been a woman who's been involved for years, for over 40 years. I've been involved in the community, fighting for the rights of youth, you know, doing many things to help young people, having retreats, just helping the youth. And for somebody to come back and blow my grandson's brains out, you hear me? To do that was a slap in the face after all that I have done, from the wardens in juvenile institutions, going into prisons, fighting for young people. You know, just do it. And it doesn't matter what race or religion. I'm out there. And I did not wait until this happened to my grandson. I've been out there. But now that it happened to my grandson, there are no limits now. I will never shut up, and I won't ever stop, because I am determined to help somebody else's child, because nobody fought for mine.
And it shouldn't take that to get there. So just to reset, Cathy Toliver's in studio. HB 606 by Representative Edmund Jordan it states, a lessee shall have the right to terminate a lease pertaining to residency of a lessee if 2 or more violent crimes or drug offenses with official police reports occur on the adjacent property of a single-family residence or on the property of a multifamily residence without the termination being reported to a credit bureau if the lessee pays the rent owed for the remaining term of the lease. Long and the short, multiple shootings on your block, you're allowed to get out penalty-free. You're allowed to move penalty-free. And that's all your daughter was looking for.
That's all she was
literally
looking for.
the day of.
But I have to keep saying, you know, I have to say this. And that is, if you have a relationship with the management company, they already know what's going on. When I was managing properties, we knew where the problem areas were. And we were told, do this or don't do that. You know, I know the game. I know how it goes. And so that is why I'm standing so firmly to say, if you have communication with your management company, They have a record. We were supposed to keep a record when I was managing. You're supposed to keep a record, documentation. We brought it in. And because they did nothing, it cost the life of my 3-year-old grandson. I will never understand that. I will never understand that. He's gone and never to come back. He's gone. What are we going to do about that? I will not, I'm there. I'm just so there. And for anybody to sit there and say, I'm going to take the side of the management company because of a dollar bill? You live to see another day, but my grandson won't. You live to put another resident. Listen, that house that my daughter lived in, somebody else is now living in that house.
Right.
So
really?
they now are, yes. So now they can make more money. You lost, but my grandson is gone.
Right.
I don't mean to blow up in here, but I'm just telling you. You're making it about a dollar, but look how quick they filled that house back up. But where is my son? In a grave at Southern Memorial Garden. How do you think that makes us feel? My daughter I'm there. I'm telling you, I'm there. I'm there.
Well, hopefully we all are before the next occurrence. She is Cathy Toliver. I greatly appreciate a couple minutes. Look, if you want to follow it during the legislative session, it's HB 606. Here in Baton Rouge, Devin's law was passed not too long ago. There's the Page Rice Camera Initiative. I'm probably going to talk about that next hour. There are multiple efforts right now that hopefully we can start to see Baton Rouge get on the right track as far as we've all got skin in this game. It just not to the level that Cathy does, but we all need to recognize that. Cathy, thank you so much for a couple minutes.
Thank you so much for having me.
It is 7:50.